What up, Spiller Nation? It's me, Light Spiller, back to do a video. Wanted to do a video in reference to the Sony conference. I know some of you probably may have watched it already, seen some trailers, seen some stuff like that, but I still wanted to get into it, kind of give you my overall thoughts, my perspective, do my little review about it. I had opportunity, much like last year, to go to the conference. I went to, or actually, it's a Sony experience. Basically, they allow you to, you have to register early in advance, like a month or so in advance, and you're able to watch the Sony experience or the Sony conference at an IMAX theater. So it's pretty cool. In exchange for coming, they give you all like little gifts and vouchers and posters, and this year they gave us badges. Again, got the badge, nice little badge, so that was cool. Also, they gave us some cups, Sony Experience cup there. Gave us a nice little souvenir, little Sony Experience there, E3 Experience. That's gonna sit up nice on the shelf somewhere. Then they also gave us a poster. Now with these vouchers, basically you get like I think a $10 PSN credit. I think you get some skins, some other little stuff. I'm trying to remember the whole list. They'll be sending an email shortly, like they did last year, and you basically get they redeem all your stuff and they send it to you via email. So yeah, I was trying to figure out what in the world was going on with this weird orchestra music. I couldn't get my head around it, and what ended up happening was they had a live orchestra band, and this band was basically going to be set up to play the whole entire night. So at first they were making all kinds of weird noise. It was I guess she's like some eccentric artist or something like that. I forgot her name, but she was making all these noises and shit, and I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. We come into the theater, so just imagine coming sitting down in the conference and you figure to watch the show. There are sitting us all down and stuff like that. Then you hear all these weird noises. But the first game that they came out with was God of War. It was so mind-blowing. And see, this is the way that Sony gets you. They know how to shock you and move you in a certain direction. Okay, so how the trailer basically starts out, actually it wasn't even a trailer, it was actual gameplay. They first have a little boy. He's just talking to this mysterious guy behind the shadows, so you can't see him. So everybody is already trying to figure it out. I thought maybe they would play some of the same music that they've always played in God of War games or something like that. Kind of stimulate your ear, and you'll automatically know, oh, it's Kratos, oh, it's God of War. So he's talking, and the guy comes, he said, I gotta teach you some things. He's trying to prepare his son and get him ready. He's like, let's go out and shoot some deer and blah, blah, blah. And from the shadows emerges Kratos. You know it's Kratos because of his signature red line that he has that looks like a tattoo or whatever going down from his face back and stuff like that. But he has a beard. So it's a whole new look. All these years, over these 11 years that we've known Kratos to be always clean shaven. He's always had a certain build to him and stuff like that. But this guy looked a lot bigger, a lot stronger. He looked like a Viking. I mean, my buddy and I was sitting there discussing it. We were saying that he looked like a Viking or something like that. So, and they already told us they were leaving Greek mythology altogether. My whole thing was, how is Sony going to be able to revamp a franchise that everybody felt like after God of War 3, he killed all the gods? So it was like, where we're going, they said, well, they're going to Norse mythology or whatever the proper terminology it is. They're going in that direction. So that was a whole different thing. And so yeah, man, he didn't even look the same. The gameplay was phenomenal as far as what I saw in those tidbits of little minutes. Being able to throw the axe and be able to retract it back, that was different. We've grown accustomed to him having the chains burned into his chains of chaos. burn into his arms and stuff like that. So they brought in a whole new dynamic. Of course, the visuals are going to be much more realistic now. The capabilities have changed as far as God of War 3 and this God of War. That was 2000, I think it was like 2010 or 2011 was the last time a God of War game came out. And I mean, like God of War 3, I know Westcalling came out, Ascension. The gameplay looked phenomenal. You're going to, I see that they're going to be able, they still do the quick time events. It's going to still be more about close-ups with the camera and the action and stuff like that. But the visuals, like his beard, the fur on the deer when his son shot the deer, you could see like it physically moving along with the patterns of the wind. I mean, it's crazy. If you haven't seen it, definitely check out that trailer or check out the gameplay. It's going to blow your mind away. So I was blown away. They didn't give no announcement, no dates or anything like that, which I didn't expect. I mean, this is the first time. Of course, we saw leaks about a couple months ago about him emerging from the shadows. Of course, it's still gonna have the big boss battle play and stuff like that, and it's a whole new direction, whole new beginning. Is pretty much the sentiment or the thought process they left you with. So I really was blown away by that, man. I was so in shock because we had just barely sat down and then they announced the game and I was like, what? Then they showed Days Gone. They just gave us a quick trailer. Days Gone is this biker group or whatever. From the first thing that they showed us, they just showed like an apocalyptic type thing, and they kind of left it at that, and then they moved on, right on. They kind of led you into this character. He was kind of giving you his thoughts about his girl and how he felt about her, and from what he was describing, it sounded like she's gone or passed away or something like that, or died or whatever the case may be, died tragically, and he was just reminiscing and just sitting there going back and forth about that. So they quickly moved into that, and then they transitioned out of that. And then the next thing that they showed, waiting on my screen to refresh here, The Last Guardian. And when they actually showed it, I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna, either they're gonna show us more gameplay, do some more teasing or whatever. They did like a minute montage of some screenshots, real quick, visual, video gameplay, kind of giving you an idea of what the game's gonna be like. This time around, the first time around, they only showed the kid and whatever you call that thing. I don't know if it's a dog, a dragon, a horse, but this time around they showed one that was dark, and that automatically stood out to me that represented something evil, that the other guy is meant to be your protector, or the other animal is meant to be your protector, and this guy is going to be your foe. So they quickly moved in that, but then that was it. So I wasn't really that impressed with what I saw. I wasn't really that moved this time around because I've already seen stuff about it. But the good thing is they left us with the release date, which is October 15th of this year. So that was good. So that's not even that far away. I mean, we're in June, which is a 6 month. We only got 4 months away. So that was, now that part moved me. That was the part that moved me. But I wasn't so impressed with what I actually saw. I was like, because I already seen it all before. Then the next thing they showed was Horizon Zero Dawn. They actually went into gameplay because we already know that it comes out next year in February 2017. So they wanted to take us right in. And I think if the big thing that I gathered from this conference, they didn't do a lot of talking. They let the games do the talking, which was such a pivotal role in moving this conference along. It wasn't a lot of awkward silent or awkward jokes and shit and stuff like that. It was more what gamers wanted, video games, and they stayed in that zone. So they went right in and they showed us Horizon Zero Dawn, and the gameplay looks right up my alley. It's a single player base. Looks like it has some RPG elements because you have a little bit of a choice making situation. The lead character protagonist, I still don't even know her name. I have to look it up. I think he said her name, but he said it real quick. Of course, you got the whole representation of God or goddess. They look to a goddess or whatever, and and people live in that fear and reverent state of mind, and so they look at things a certain way. Like when they see something, they automatically think of it in a weird way because it's something they never seen before, so they automatically call it a demon or whatever the case may be. But the gameplay looked good. You could see the little wheels of being able to choose your weapons and stuff like that. It was pretty awesome. I like the whole combat, the aerial fight, being able to fight big monsters and stuff like that, boss battles. Now the next game that they showed was called Detroit Become Human. I didn't even know what to think of this game at first because they did a lot of these games from the back. Like when they started out the trailer or they'll start out gameplay, you were looking at the back of the character. And I think they purposely did that so that you wouldn't just automatically figure it out. But some people already knew what it was because they did show a tidbit of it last year, but this year they went into it a little bit more. As far as my initial thoughts, because that's really all this is, it's just all these things that you're hearing right now. It's just my initial thoughts. It doesn't mean that I won't buy or not buy the game, or I'm not interested totally. But my initial thoughts on that game, when I saw what it was about choices. There was this girl who was being held by another guy who looked human, but he was actually a robot, and it was another robot or another guy talking to him that was a cop. And his whole thing was to try to talk him off of jumping off the ledge with the girl. He had already killed all these people, and you basically walk through the scene of a crime. And so now you're trying to figure out, how can I save this little girl? So it's all about choices. From what I gathered, my perspective is that it's all about choices. The next thing they showed was, now this was crazy because it started out in this room, and I knew it was going to be a scare suspense game, and I knew they were trying to shock you, and people were turning their heads out of fear and stuff like that. And one dude was sitting next to me. He was like, "Man, I'm just gonna look at your facial expressions," because he said I don't get down with that kind of stuff. He was like, I don't play that. So I was laughing. I was like, okay, whatever, dude. I'll I'll watch it. So he was like, mm. So you're walking through this room. You start out, and it looks like, it looked like a house that just went to shit. Everything was dirty, dingy. There was roaches everywhere. You open up pots and stuff like that, and you see all dead, I don't know what it was, like a dead carcass inside. And so, like I said, and one roach got on his hand, and visually it looked awesome. It would look like a scene that you would walk through if you were walking through a nasty, dirty ass house. And so that was pretty awesome and gripping and stuff like that. And you see this person going through the entire house, looking at certain things. And from what I remember, everything was just more like a panning, where it just started panning throughout the house, kind of giving you flashes. And then all of a sudden it pulled back and it said Resident Evil 7. And I am not the biggest Resident Evil fan, but I'll tell you this, I lost my mind because of all the people out there that I know, love, and appreciate Resident Evil, who stuck with it throughout many years. I have to say, I played a lot of those Resident Evil games over the years. I'm surprised. I believe I played Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I played them all. Some of the, not the side ones. Some of the side ones I played too. Code Veronica. But my favorite is still Resident Evil 2. Then they announced the VR. They showed us the VR, and they showed the actual price for it. And it made some people upset because the price was $399 in the US, which honestly I didn't have a problem with, because realistically I thought to myself, they're just gonna probably barely make a profit off of these VRs initially anyway. I know people are gonna, whether, because all you heard was moan and groan through all of the you know the theater and the conference area and all that, or the conference itself. You heard nothing but moans and groans and all people just going crazy and shit. And it was like, realistically, come on, people, what did you think it was gonna be? Like $200 or something like that. I think what we do is we put a price in our head and not realizing, first of all, the technology, the equipment, all that stuff that they have to take all these things in consideration. They can't just say, oh, okay, we're just gonna charge $199. I think either way, people would have griped anyway. So I thought $399, as crazy as it sounds, I thought that was realistic because it's brand new. It's a different technology. They're gonna try to make close to profit or break even on these VRs the first few years anyway. Those bad boys are gonna sell like hotcakes regardless. So all that griping, and I say all that because all that griping and everything, but as soon as people announced the games, people lost their fucking minds. They went crazy. The first game they announced was Farpoint. I honestly don't even remember the game. Or was it Far? Yeah, it was Farpoint. I think it was like some shooter or something like that. It looked okay. I'm not a big shooter fan, so I think that's why it didn't impress me. But people did like what they seen. People were going crazy in the audience. The next game they showed was a Star Wars game, Battlefront. It actually looked pretty good. Yet again, I'm not a Star Wars fan. Haven't watched the movies. I never got into that. I never got into Star Wars, Star Trek, and people always ask me, what kind of nerd are you then? It's like, you don't do the Star Trek, you don't do Star Wars, you don't do comic books. It's not that I'm against those things. It's just that it never piqued my interest. Nobody never sat down and made it look interesting to me. So it never appealed to me. So I just never, so that whole era just rushed over me and kept going. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then they showed Batman Arkham. And I shouldn't even say they showed it. They started out with Joker kind of giving a narration type thing and bringing that whole thing to the forefront and say, how can you not wear your mask and all that? And so they gave you that. So it was a trailer. It wasn't even no gameplay, no images, just Batman's mask, and that was it. And it was just doing like a full 360 circle around it. So there's gonna be a VR game. It's called Batman Arkham. And that's it. And people lost their minds over that. I think it's just more so a selling point for this. So the next thing they showed was Final Fantasy 15 for the VR. They were letting you know that you will be able to play that game from a first-person perspective with your VR headset on. So I thought that was cool because you'll actually be in the battle, not just looking on your TV screen or holding your controller. You're going to be immersed within it. Now, I've heard, and this is just something I heard, that you still would have to have your controller. So, which is kind of weird. I don't know. I think you'll need it anyway. I never saw that out of the equation. I guess just when you think about it in the scheme of things, it sounds weird that you have to hold a controller, but you have a big ass VR headset on. But yeah, so they showed that, and then they got into the third party stuff. They showed Call of Duty, the Infinite Warfare in outer space. They just quickly went into outer space and showed you some gameplay, some footage of what the game's going to look like. It actually looked good, even though I'm not a Call of Duty fan. Then they moved right into Modern Warfare. They showed you the sniper and how much they went through as far as the work to remaster and remake this game. It looks good. I did like Modern Warfare 1 and 2. I will say that. I still have them in my collection in my 360. I love the game. I beat the game and enjoyed both of them. But later on in the franchise, I started to quickly lose interest with the year-by-year thing, and So I lost interest after so many years. I was done. And then the next game they showed was the announcer. I forgot his name. He walks across and you can actually see like a little screen right underneath his feet, and it's showing crash, and people are like, don't play us, you got us last year, don't do the same thing again. And as he's walking across, he's like, yeah, there's no t-shirt this year, it's official, we're gonna build remake Crash from the ground up, the first three Crash Bandicoot games and stuff like that. So I thought that was cool because I know there's a big fan base out there. I never really was into the Crash games only because I didn't have the PlayStation 1 back then. I played some of the games. From what I played, I enjoyed. It wasn't like, he wasn't my favorite character. You know, I was not all that appealed or moved by him. But I know there is a big fan base out there. And so I want to see what it looks like because I can dive into it now. And see, that's the thing about me. I'm open-minded to the possibilities of what can be. So, yeah, I can't wait to see. I hope it turns out to be really good. The next thing they had was, was it his name? Hideo Kojima? He came down, and of course, when he comes down, it's like God ascending from heaven. I mean, whatever you want to look at, it's like it's a big deal. It's, in the gaming world, we look to these guys like, we know we're mere mortals, and they're mortals too, but it's just something that they do. I think it's the level of appreciation and admiration towards the things that they do for us. Countless effort of conceptualizing an idea, bringing that idea to fruition, actually putting that onto video and then gameplay, and then making whatever their thoughts come alive. It stars old dude who plays Arrow on Walking Dead. He's butt-ass naked. There's a baby that's chained to him. There's some weird elements, and it's just like I felt like I was walking through his mind, and you see all these handprints and stuff all over him, and it was just like they were going real rapid and fast. I mean, visually the game I hope the game looks like this, and it ain't just I think it was a CGI trailer, but everything is dead. Everything in the ocean has swept up. You see whales, you see deer, and all kinds of weird stuff, and it was just like this whole world. And the title of the game is called Death Stranding, and as the words come across the screen, all you see is like this dripping coming down the screen, almost like you're pouring down liquid or something over the letters. Then they quickly showed us Spider-Man. They showed the Marvel, and people were like, they already knew. And like I said, if you're a comic head, you already know what it is. I was lost. But I have played all the Spider-Mans pretty much, except for the last 2 or 3 that came out on the last few systems. I didn't play those. I played some of the older ones, and I loved them and I enjoyed them. So I can't wait to see where it goes. They showed us Days Gone again, the biker game, but this time they actually went into gameplay. And they showed us that, and it looked really good. It looked a whole hell of a lot better than the Dead Rising. I guess what I get displeased with is the fanboyism and the whole feeling like we got a divide with Microsoft and Sony, and we got to go head to head. I mean, to a certain degree, it's nice, but this game basically starts out with this guy that's a part of a biker gang. He goes through like a farm, and he's looking for somebody. At first, I thought he was just trying to find them, like, oh, they're lost. He's trying to find them. So he crosses over a dead body. The intestines are out of that body and stuff like that. You can tell somebody tried to eat him, and he saw 2 dogs, and he was trying to shush them away, tell them to get away from him and shit. So he runs into the barn, and he sees something that's eating away at one of the dogs, and it looks like what appears to be a zombie / monster. So they quickly give that to you, and they let you know what type of game this is. And so it's like, oh. So he finds the guy, and actually he's trying to get this guy. He before he sees this guy, he goes into the truck, he grabs like one of the parts, he puts it on his gun. I didn't know why. It was just the weirdest thing. They were just walking you through all of this stuff, and he found the guy and went after him. But then, like a horde of zombies slash monsters slash whatever they're gonna be starts coming at them both. He pushes the guy back, and the guy stumbles. They get into a brawl. Eventually, the lead character leaves him. He gets killed. He has to go up through the barn, up to the second floor, through the window, killing all these enemies, blowing up stuff, causing explosions, setting them on fire. He ended up having to ultimately cross over this bridge, go up to the top of this water tower, and you just see hordes and hordes of zombies coming after him, and then they just leave it at that, and then it fades off. The day's gone, and that was the end of it. That was the end of everything. The trailer, the conference, all of it. Honestly, I loved what I saw from the conference. I was really blown away by what Sony did. I loved the whole live orchestra feeling. I loved that they were not at they didn't look like they were at your typical E3 conference place. They were at like a open house, or where you would see a opera or something like that. So they did a whole different spin with it, and I like the fact that they cut out the fat of people really giving you this long jargon of talking and stuff like that. They just stuck to the game. So for me, I would give it an A, whatever. I was visually pleased with a lot of the games. I like the fact that they kept it straight to the point. We didn't get off track. We knew what it was about. So yeah, tell me what you think down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. As always, I'm Life Spiller, and I'm out.